Hey, gang. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. You guys are getting talking already. Love it. How's it going? Super glad you guys could join. Funderwunk, welcome. Do I know Mark? I do. Mark actually handles all of my my proof signings and things like that. So anytime someone contacts me and they want some magic cards signed or something like that, or proof sketches, he's the guy we usually go through. It just helps me manage things so that things get out. Even with his help, I'd say maybe I get out once or twice a year my signings. But before, when it was just me doing it, it would be sometimes even less frequently. It's just I have so many other things going on. It's really tough for me to manage. So having him as a manager, yeah, he's legit, and I know that he works with a bunch of different artists. So what you should do is if you're talking with him, make sure if you have any other cards from other artists that you want signed that he may represent, that you get it all done in one go, and he'll handle everything. So he's a really good guy. He's good peoples. You've got a fully foiled Kess deck. Nice. You want a super special version of her as commander? Nice. Yeah, that's hot. Definitely talk to him. Avid, welcome. David, how you doing, bud? First time being able to make the stream? Well, awesome. Glad you could join. We were just hanging out and we were painting on this Magic Card Redo. Sort of a silly, goofy version, but it's fun. We're having a good time in here. How's your guys' week going? I gotta get caught up on where I was. I've been working on the art direction stuff for this game, and that's been in my head all day. So every time I switch tasks, I usually have a hard time with multitasking. I'm one of those people that you sick me on something like a bulldog, and I'll just stay on that one thing until it's done. Because if I give up the chase, then it's really hard for me to get interest in it again. So when I do have to do that, like with the Twitch stream where I have to change gears, I got to take a minute and just see what I was doing, try and figure out what I was thinking. So it's a good time for me to chat y'all up, see what you've been working on. Okay, so we were up to the foreground of garbage. We have not yet gotten to our goblin character here, the gutter snipe. We just finished some Critical Role fan art, and you're now working on a portrait for a character from a book. Awesome! Hey, that's great. Is there any way to request anything for the back of a proof? Generally, no, Funderwonk. What I'll do is I just will do sketches of whatever comes to mind. It's usually because when people ask for specific things, considering how simple and kind of quickly I do these sketches, I don't want them to be disappointed if they're like looking for if they have imagined in their head something really specific. Because Kim Jong-gi, I'm not awesome at those quick pen drawings. It's the same way you hate it when you finish tasks and have to sit and wait either on feedback or being assigned the next task. Yeah, losing momentum. That's basically what it comes down to. It's rough. That said, if you ask him, I know that what I do is he'll send me a bunch of proofs, and I'll just add goofy sketches to different proofs. And you can ask him if you have a card that you want a proof on. He may have art for it already, and then he can probably show you some variants of what might be on there. Some are better than others. I'm the first to admit. Sometimes I'm in the sketching zone, and sometimes I'm not. So you can ask to see if he's okay with that. I don't want to give him more work than he needs to do, but you can ask him and see if he'd be willing to walk you through some of the sketches that have been done already. Okay, I keep wanting to get onto the character, but it's not the character's time yet. That's the danger. Awesome. That's great, Funderwunk. Just be prepared for a little bit of a wait. My schedule is pretty kooky, and basically I'm only able to do the proof sketches and signings like when I go to the coffee shop, and I'm literally not doing anything else freelance wise. So it gets, like I said, it's an infrequent return. It will come though. I always make sure to get it done. It's just slow, unfortunately. I don't know why I'm using this little round hard brush. I've been doing such fun texture brushes for all of this. I might as well stick with it, you know? Not sure what this butter knife or whatever it is I'm painting here is. I don't know what past Izzy was doing. It's like Drunk Izzy. And just get presents in the mail from Drunk Izzy. Getting on that Amazon. I don't know what he was thinking. It's exactly the same value as everything behind it. I need something else. It's a little better. Let's go ahead and switch that brush like I was talking about. All right, something. It's good enough for now. Get in the zone, and when your concentration gets broken, it really sucks. Yeah, it takes practice to start the switching of gears. Usually it's just kind of like resigning yourself to the fact that you're going to have kind of this little stutter stop and just go through it as fast as possible. Get it done. Amazon is so addicting, just ordering stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's like having a birthday. It's just like, yay. I got little presents. I was pretty bad about it before. I'm better now, but before I went and moved onto the boat, I was just buying like random shit. And yeah, I mean, I would regularly not know what I ordered. So it was fun in that when Amazon showed up, it was always a surprise. I had no idea what I'd gotten, but it was also a waste of money. And it's just stuff. I think everybody, kind of goes through that stage with their first gigs that are paying decently and just kind of treat themselves to stupid shit. I'm over it now. I have no real interest in it. I just buy things that I need. I have kind of a method for how I think out what it is I need to get, like what qualifies as a need. And it's usually, so if I find myself wishing I had something for some solution multiple times, then that's something that I'll consider getting. Like, for example, I don't have it in here, but I had a cheap stand for my iPad so that when I was using Procreate on it, actually, no, wait, I take it back. This is the cheap stand. I'm using it still here. So I have this cheap plastic stand that I put my Wacom tablet on, but it annoyed me that I had to come back in here, switch out this stand to get to work on my iPad on Procreate in front of the TV when I just wanted to sit on the couch or something like that. And this pad didn't have the right heights, and it's slowly falling apart. So it just can only really sit in one position. I can't mess with it too much. So I remember multiple times I was like, God damn, I need to get a stand. I need to get a stand. And then finally I went and got one. And it's great. It's a really good stand. But that's my system now, is to just wait and see if it's something I actually need. Otherwise, I'm just going to waste money. Sweet, sweet money. There's not a lot of that going around. So you got to be a little tighter these days. How's Portland compared to LA? Portland's great. To be honest, I haven't really been out in Portland that much since I've been back. This is kind of where I grew up. And because I left here, 20 years ago, it's not at all the same place I left. It's very different. And I'm different too. I'm super different. I left here as like basically in my late teens, early 20s. It's great, but in all honesty, yeah, since I've been here for the pandemic, I have not really gone out at all. So I could not say. I went to a couple of the protests. I went a few times, and that's it. That's the only time I've really been into Portland. Wonderfunk, I absolutely need to get that t-shirt. Because I do have a dark predilection for tacos. Sweet taco juice. When I was in Mexico, I discovered all sorts of new variants of foods that I thought that I knew really well. And one of my favorites is there's a lot of tacos, the taco stands that you can go to, taquerias, and a few of them deal in a particular, I guess, variant of the cuisine that I really enjoy. And it's a topping that you can add to your tortillas called asiento. Asiento means to seat. But in this case, what it is when they make carnitas, when they fry the carnitas, they're in a big pan, like a wok almost. And the pork grease at the bottom gets all of these little crispy fallings, the leavings of the pork get caught up in there, and it becomes these little crispy, super crunchy, delicious bacon bits. And they put that in the taco. So I get like al pastor with something like that. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's pure fat, but goddamn, it's good. For vegans in the audience, I apologize. Glorifying the eating of the aminals. I'll get there eventually. Damage, hey, welcome. How's it going? You got the smart cover for your iPad, which flips open into a stand. I got the smart cover too, which is the keyboard one. So I guess it's the smart keyboard, and it stopped working in 3 months. And that thing was like $150 or more. I think it was even more than that. So I was so pissed off. And I was using that as a stand, but it doesn't support when you're putting pressure on it with your pen. I didn't feel like it supported it really well. It's just, personal interest. Funderwunk, sorry about that. Oh, you posted the link for the shirt. Oh, okay. No worries. Adelheid, hey, welcome. Glad you could join. Yeah, the keyboard one was just a waste of money. Don't get it. The connectors are not worked out yet. That said, I'm working on an iPad Pro from 2017 or 2018, so it's an older model comparatively. I have no idea what I'm painting over there, but it's something. Let's get another chunky brush. I gotta organize these again. I have not bothered to spend the day organizing since the big crash. I've been so lazy about it. I gotta imagine what else might be here. Maybe we need another can or something. Actually, there's no cans. This is medieval. They don't have tin like that. Could be another jar. What's my favorite Magic card mechanically that I've drawn? You mean in terms of the game mechanics? Yeah, you know when it does that. I can't say I've actually played that much with my own cards. They've popped up in hands every now and then, but I don't get to play that much. There's not a lot of people for me to play with. The last round I played, I shit thee not, was on a sailboat in the bay of... in Banderas Bay, where Puerto Vallarta is. And I played against like a 7 or 8 year old kid, and he trashed me. Just trashed me. He kicked my ass so bad. But the carrot sticks were great. You see that the lessons are still garbage? Yes. Yes, they are. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. This is the home of smarm and jackassery, and I love it. We're going to get along famously. Okay. Little blobs of things. I don't know. Looks like I was doing another jar here. It's an awful lot of jars in this dump. Maybe this is a dump behind an apothecary. How about that? That works for me. Storytelling. Funderwunk, you know, I honestly, I really don't know that much about the mechanics of most of my cards. I only know a few of them. When I did play, I played a lot of manipulation, like blue decks, blue-black. Blue-black was probably my favorite combination. And a lot of the cards that I do wouldn't cater to any of those particular strategies. So I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Can't even really remember. I guess unsummon, because that fits well in my sort of manipulation style play. Just infuriating the opponents and being an awful little troll man. The age of interrupts. I don't even think they really have interrupts anymore, do they? Twiddle. Like, that was my time. It's our time down here. Grixis. Grixis is red and green, right? I should know all this stuff. Yeah, they're just instants now. Yeah, they changed the terminology pretty significantly from when I played regularly. And there's a lot of things that used to be standard that just don't exist anymore. I played a little bit of the Kaladesh set where you had vehicles and manning of vehicles, and I thought that was pretty crazy, but an interesting... Like, I'm really impressed with the Magic designers. Like, they're able to keep it fresh. I mean, that game has been going for over 20 years, right? And it's still pretty damn fun. And they managed to put cool stuff in there on the reg. Now that I'm seeing it, I fucking hate this thing. I have no idea what it's meant to be. It's just taking up too much space emotionally. Yeah, that's better. Oh, right. Right, I forgot about Grixis. That's the land where, like, there's teeth and eyes in the ground, right? That was pretty fun. I think I had a couple of paintings set in that plane that I rather liked. Also, this helmet is not bringing me joy, so we may have to just get rid of it altogether. I don't know. Oh, never be too precious. Just get rid of it. Keep moving. Helmet is killed. We're done with it. I ain't fucking with that thing anymore. But that said, the helmet did serve a very specific purpose, which is to help give us a little bit of scale for this guy. So now I need to come up with something else that's going to solve that problem. Some bit of detritus. I mean, the spoon kind of helps a little bit, but something that would really cement it. Could be like a sword hilt or something like that, but I feel like that's just too... He's already found something really special in the garbage. You know what I mean? What kind of coffee do I have? This is, I think it's some Kirkland blend. Just ground it today. It's good. How long does it usually take me to do a piece? It totally varies. We were talking about this on the last episode, but the biggest contributor to taking longer is complexity of the shot, which would be like characters. The more characters you have, things like that, can cause me to get really slowed down. If it's simple, something like this, then 6 to 8 hours is not. That's pretty straightforward. Usually a day for an illustration. But that's if it's a simple, fun, easy one. So, and then some are challenging in different ways. And then sometimes, every now and then, I'd say maybe a handful, totally a handful in the hundreds I've done now of cards. A handful I got done in a few hours. Peer into Abyss, which is one of my favorites as of late, just came out the last set, or the set before last set. I did that one super fast. And it was just, partially because it was just a face, but that one was done in maybe a half a day. I don't usually sketch on paper to start. Usually it's entirely digital. There are some of my pieces that have sketches, in my sketchbook that are really, really rough, like layouts and plans, but they're not collector things, really. It's really creepy, isn't it? That's one of those ones, like every now and then, like I said, a handful of times, I'll get a card that just kind of poops out. Like just boom, there it is. This is the obvious answer. So like for that one, there was no other option. I sent them exactly what I wanted to do from the get-go, and they were like, yes, do it. And I was like, awesome. It was fun. Thinking a pail, but a pail's probably too boring. We have jars already. Dishes. What are things that would be thrown out? Ay. It's a big sort of, not quite medieval. I think, if I remember, Ravnica was kind of based on Prague. Some Eastern European cities and castles and things. It's good for competitive Commander. Nice. I don't even know what it does. To be honest, I have no idea what the mechanics are for Peer into Abyss. I just know I had a really fun time painting it. When in doubt, just start laying down shapes. Maybe something will come out. Who knows? Could be cactus. Portuguese man of war. That would be funny. It'd make no sense, but it would be funny. Could be the little hamburger helper guy. I don't know. Could be bones. More bones, I guess. Got a horn out of that. So a skull. We could just do a straight up skull. That's kind of like a helmet. It's like the helmet inside your head. Right? Oh, it draws half your library? Holy shit. Yeah. So you basically have to act immediately. I can't remember if skulls are kosher for Magic or not. I don't think I've painted a skull for a while. Yeah, that's my concern, Avid, is it'll draw too much attention ultimately. If you cast Peer and it's not countered, you win the game. Really? I would figure that you're also endangering yourself because once that deck is empty, you lose the game too, right? And you can only lay out one land per turn. Or at least you used to be able to. I don't remember if that's changed or not. So by the time that comes out, you have to have a table set. No, I think it's going to take away too much from it. Could be a chair, a broken chair. No, fuck it. I think I'm overthinking it too much. Let's just put stuff there. It doesn't really matter. It's still only one land, but in competitive Commander, if you have half your library, you will win with artifact mana and spells like Dark Ritual. Oh, nice. I can't say I've ever actually played Commander, just old school standard Magic. But when I played regularly, almost religiously at that time, so it was in my teen years. That was when you didn't have pre-made decks. You had to construct everything yourself. So it was always just like hanging out with friends and trying to come up with strategies for beating their favorite decks and favorite cards. And then I played a little bit. Once I started actually working on Magic and I had a full-time job, there weren't a lot of people that played that were my age. I know that's changed to now significantly. But at that point, everything was pre-made strategies. So you just kind of played the strategy of each deck. And so what we would do is we'd just end up trading decks and see which ones would win the most. It's just a different kind of thing. But there was nothing quite like just sitting, you know, in the living room carpet with friends, just with a big pile of cards between us trying to make a deck. That was so fun. Arguing about rules because the rules weren't on the internet at the time. All you had were these little tiny booklets that came with the decks. And so you had to try and interpret what they meant. It was a different time. Now there's like whole YouTube channels devoted to strategies and all of the professional players and things. It's so cool how it's evolved. No idea what this little pile of wood is, but we'll just leave it there. It52. You found me a long time ago and found my videos helpful. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I'm here on Twitch 3 times a week. You can catch previous episodes until they expire here on Twitch, and then I've been trying to archive them over on my YouTube. So if you want to see some old episodes and watch me paint some of those fun paintings that I've been posting on Twitter and Instagram, give the YouTube channel a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff. Check those out. Some good content for when you're hanging out and painting. The site is youtube.com/Izzy Medrano. Thanks for that follow, It. So we're just populating with brush textures and things like that right now, but I'm trying to follow my established lighting. And by doing that, sort of just this visual noise that I'm making should feel like kind of just piles of debris. And even though I'm spending the time to put color and actually provide shapes of things instead of just adding scribbles, what that does is it allows your eye to skate over it and recognize it as garbage and move on. If it was just scribbles, your eye would move over it and then get caught there and be like, what is happening here? So sometimes you want to paint something so that people don't look at it. Isn't that interesting? Is this a commission piece or is this just for fun? This is just for fun. I figured I'd take the followers through the process of doing a magic card. And I'll probably do this again in the future, just picking different cards where I didn't like the art or, you know, I thought maybe it could be done in a different way. Thanks for that sub, It means the world. Okay. So I have this last little section that needs to be completed. I think it's going to be mostly the contours of the shapes that are going to give me that garbage feel out here. add darks. I need them to be a little bit, just a touch darker than that background, so that I'll have a silhouette against it. We can go in and add more atmosphere later if we need to, but for now, this will suffice. I'm redoing my own pieces, Funderwunk, because I have the prompts for all of them. You know, the original assignment, and so what I was doing is I'm showing basically the process that you go through when you get the assignment, like how you might think about approaching the sketch, what it looks like, what a sketch looks like when you're sending it in to the client, things like that. So this is very like art forward Twitch, but we also talk, you know, we tell stories and things like that. Talk about my kooky life at sea. All sorts of things. Talk gaming, movies. Honestly, there really isn't any topic barred in here so far. I have not had to reel it in yet. But we've gotten some close calls, I'm sure. Alright, this far side's getting a little too pastel-y for me. It's starting to look like breakfast cereal. So let's dim it down a touch. Speaking of gaming, have I beat Cyberpunk? You just beat it 2 nights ago. Damn, Avid, nice. No, I haven't beat it. I haven't actually played that much since we were last seriously talking about it. Usually what's been happening is I finish with work. Sometimes I'll be doing the Twitch stream, and then I go and sit down for a little bit, and I end up just passing out and taking a nap. And then I get up in time to kind of get online and play some multiplayer games with friends. And then I crash. That's been the habit for the last couple months, I think. So Cyberpunk has been falling to the wayside a little bit. I'm still thinking about it a lot, and I want to get back to it. I've been watching YouTube videos on it and things like that. So it's not out of my system yet, not at all. Are you going to go back and play it again? Am I on a boathouse right now? It wasn't a boathouse. I was living on a sailboat. No, I'm not on it currently. I would not be able to do the Twitch stream from it. That's why I didn't have the Twitch stream for the last several years, is because I was out on the boat. The internet is very shaky out there. So now I'm currently in Portland, Oregon, but my boat is still in Mexico, waiting. Might have to head back out there at some point. Oi! Hush! Bloody dog. I was almost tempted to make that a helmet, but you see what would happen if I made this a helmet right here? So this is a helmet. Look at how big that makes him. Just those little pair of eyes. Can't do that. Nope, nope, nope. When in doubt, jar. I don't know. I don't know. Don't blame me. Sometimes hardcore problem solving just doesn't come to you. It might later. So my philosophy is just get something down for now. If something else better comes up, sweet, use it. But at the bare minimum, you have something. Having nothing for a client is not an option. And sometimes if you populate something like this, like if you have, a bunch of visual noise, they may not even see the details that are in there. Because again, what you're painting is something that's meant to not be looked at. You were very disappointed by the ending, so you probably won't play it again for a year or so. Oh no, the ending doesn't live up, huh? Oh shit. Well, I'll keep going until I get fully bored of it, I guess. How long was I on the boat? I was on the boat for 5 years, and then I lived in Puerto Vallarta for another year, and then COVID happened, so I came back. I would have started I was actually planning the Twitch when I was in Mexico, but I did not have decent enough internet to really make it a thing. But now that I kind of know what needs to go into it, I think I can probably do the Twitch from the road comfortably. We spent so long on it and there were still so many bugs. Yeah, it's very buggy, no question. And I watched a YouTube on sort of what they had been planning to do, like sort of what they promised the game would cover and how much they really didn't get close to their mark. And I was surprised because I didn't know some of the things that they had promised. I hadn't been paying attention, of course, because I was living on a boat out in the middle of BFE. How long have I been working on this? I'd say this is our third session on this painting, so far 4 to 6 hours we've painted on it. I haven't painted the figure really at all yet. This is all building up to the figure. We'll get there. I have to do, once I'm done with this garbage, I have to do a major lighting and value changing pass because I feel like there's too many darks, especially this back here. I have to change that wall pretty significantly. But it's a problem for later. It's a problem for future Izzy. We're not dealing with that right now. So apparently, in terms of things that they intended to do, there was very heavy emphasis that you would have third-person cutscenes, which is why they spent so much time doing the character generator. So for you to build your own character, you barely ever see your character in that game. And the only time you really do is when you opt in to go up to a mirror and look at it. And then for the vast majority of people, there's been bugs with that function where they can't see the character that they designed, or the character's wearing different costumes. For example, the bug that I was dealing with pretty regularly was if I put on certain hats, it would totally change the hairstyle of my character. So that sometimes I would forego a hat that gave me better numbers just because it gave me a stupid ass hairstyle, even though I never saw it. That's just one thing. There were things with the system that were supposed to work differently. They sort of implied that it would be like GTA, where you can upgrade your apartment and start and potentially buy other properties, and that never came to fruition. There's some YouTube videos on it. It's worth checking out, if only to see what it could have been. Even with all of that, I'm not going to be too hard on them, even though this guy was, and I think kind of justifiably. His arguments essentially were like, what they promised is one thing. What they delivered is less than a lot of other games that are even last gen have been able to pull off. And that's what this YouTube commentator was so frustrated with. It's just that they did not only did they not deliver, but they didn't even rise to the basic standards for this kind of game in terms of gameplay and design. I think in terms of art, they did a great job on the art. But yeah, the AI is very weak. The comp system is weird. But I'm in it for the story. I really like the world building they did. I think if it's something that they really do commit to work on and give more time to, that game is going to be one of those ones that just like Skyrim. It's just going to be around and people will be modding on it and just making it better and better. Same thing with Fallout 4 or New Vegas. I mean, there's still people modding New Vegas, right? You just noticed I did Jessica's Will. I think so. They changed the names and they changed the flavor text after we do the art. I think I know which one Jessica's Will is. That's the one with the figure sort of floating in space with like energy blasting through her back, and then it's coming out in geometric patterns in the front. That was going to be. I remember thinking. I was telling you guys in the last episode that when you first get the assignments, when I do, I'll look at them and I'll be like, oh, this one's going to be really, really hard, or oh no, this is going to be a cakewalk, and then almost always I'm wrong. Jessica's Will, if it's the one I'm thinking of, I thought was going to be insanely impossible, and then I ended up just whipping it out pretty damn fast. It worked out surprisingly easily. I did have to go back and make some major changes. That was one where they approved it, if I'm remembering the right one. They approved the painting, and then like a month or two later, they came back and said, hey, this is actually going to be a different size format image. We need you to add art to fill out the new composition. And so they paid a fee for a fix on that one. But that ended up being a fun one, and I thought I was going to hate it. Future Izzy will be mad. Yes. Future Izzy is always mad. Such a grumpy soul. Okay, I have noodled that part enough. Jeebus. Okay, now I need just a brush that's going to give me texture so that I can stop noodling. The cop system is horrible. They just pop out of nowhere. Yeah. And I've been playing the game like super sneaky style, so the cops almost never come after me. The only time they've come after me is I was running one of the cabbie missions, and I was supposed to blow up the cab. And so I thought I was supposed to do it at high speed and kind of lead it into damaging itself. And that wasn't working. I couldn't do the damage fast enough to finish the mission. So what I ended up doing is just jumping out of my car or off my bike and just grenading the shit out of it. And then boom, suddenly there were cops everywhere. That's what we call, person of color mode. That's what it's like in real life for me with cops. They just show up. I've been pulled over before, and like within minutes, it's like an 8-car scene. This is America. That's the one? Okay, good. It's also an all-star in Commander. It's going to be one of the cards that's played for a long time. Hey, that's great. At least it's a card that I like. It's always frustrating for me when there's a really amazing mechanic applied to a card that I painted that I hate. Like one of the rarest cards that I've done, according to Wizards, is also one of my least favorite cards of all time. And then they keep doing reprints of some of my least favorite cards. It's frustrating. Just to have to see your failure again and again. And sign it. That doesn't feel good. Okay. I'm noodling because I'm blabbing. I have a hard time painting when I'm talking. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's probably good enough. Let's get just a little bit of texture over here. Good enough. Yep. Okay, the only thing left is this up here. I just want to do this treatment that I did up here where I just kind of break the surface a little bit and make it look not uniform and smooth like a lasso tool was used, because a lasso tool was used. Good enough. All right, we have noodled the shit out of the garbage. Let's put the garbage in a group. There it is by itself. Now we've got a shitty rudimentary perspective. Let's deal with this wall now. Okay, that's definitely part of it. Okay. I see what you did, past Izzy. You dum-dum. Okay, so all of this needs to be lightened significantly back here. Let's do these together. Actually, let's do all of it together and see what that does. Let's add a layer, or a adjustment layer, levels, and just together, let's try and get rid of those darks back there. Put loads of atmosphere in it. Brighten up that sky some. And we don't need to do that with the color on. We can actually do this with the black and white and see how it looks. What if I turn it down just a touch? I think this is one of those things where like the middle ground of the foreground figure is so middle of the road that we may have to go pretty extreme with that background. What if we put it in the back like this? Let's try that, and then let's do a copy. It's just going to affect our closer buildings and just lower it a little bit. Let's see how that looks in color. So without it, you see how dark that feels? It's just very gloomy. With it, it's got a little bit more of that fairy tale. Although, arguably, Ravnica is not fairy tale lighting at all, but it kind of fits this guy a little bit. Unfortunately, that back needs some work done. Red Elemental Blast, yeah, and blue Elemental Blast. Which card do I not like signing? Corrupted Marshland, or it's something Marshland, or Peat Bog, or something. Corrupted Peat Bog? I can't remember. It's one of the very few lands I've ever done. It was a land, and it's the mechanic of it is actually fairly, I think it's fairly powerful. It was super popular for a while. I don't know if it's still legal or whatever. Did not like that card. It's awful. Let's merge all this goody stuff down. Let's leave the crown separate for now. No, not Bajuka Bog. I've been having a lot of fun lately, kind of doing more of this animatorly style. And I can tell it's definitely influencing our little guy here. So maybe I should just lean into it and let it happen. Stop fighting it. Maybe an implied cast shadow from our little guy here. Do I mainly use Photoshop? Yeah, when I'm working on PC, it's usually Photoshop, and then sometimes I'll do Procreate. So some Magic cards I've done were done entirely in Procreate. A couple I hated, but some I liked. You want a tour of my DeviantArt sometime? Yeah, that was a very different time in my life. Certainly a more cynical Izzy. I think that Mark does have Jessica's Will and Peer funder. Let me see. Izzy, Magic, Gatherer. So I can show you some of the cards. See if I can find the one I don't like. I didn't like this one very much, the Brood Monitor. That didn't come out very well. The colors with this didn't print right. This is a really old one, Cloud Heath. I hated that one too, Deflecting Swat. It's just, I can never tell. Sometimes just because of the short turnaround time, it doesn't get there. Didn't like that one. But every now and then, I'd say like maybe a fifth of my cards, I genuinely like how they turned out. I really liked how Gate Colossus came out, even though the print is very dark. It was a good one. This one was pretty good, Gideon of Trials. This is one of my favorites, Goblin Diplomats. Those guys pop up a few times. They're sort of my own goblin characters. Where is that damn card? Did not like that one. Oh, here it is. Marsh Flats. Did not like this card. It's just one of those cards that just... and this one I actually did do a sketch for in my sketchbook. And it's rare, and for a while, a lot of people were really digging on it, and I signed a ton of these, and I just do not like those cards. May have a couple of proofs. Oh, yeah, I saw that. Has anyone ever commissioned an art for me for a tattoo? No, but they have used my artwork for tattoos. There's quite a few Kratos tattoos out there from my Apollo versus Kratos painting, and then even I think some with a Kratos versus Manticore. I do not recommend hiring illustrators to design tattoos for a lot of reasons. I'm quite good friends with a few tattoo artists, and this is one of their pet peeves usually. I mean, if they're an accomplished artist, they're an artist in their own right, and the biggest thing that I learned, because I also tried to tattoo, like my friend let me try, and it's really fucking hard. Like, you have to respect these people for the ability that they've developed for managing to illustrate something on skin knowing that it's going to change. Like, that's so hard. And it's one of the things that illustrators don't ever have to think about. So things that you would think look really cool in an illustration probably will not have longevity in a tattoo. So you got to be mindful of that. And I think the best people to design tattoos are tattoo artists. So when I get tattoo work done, I almost exclusively trust the artist to do something rather than... My very first tattoo was totally a what's the word I'm looking for? A narcissism piece where I designed it myself. And I took it to the tattoo artist and put it right on, and I have since covered up that tattoo. That's one of the only tattoos I've covered up. Kova, don't do that. Deflecting SWAT is one of the best cards they've printed this year. I don't know if that's one I did or not. Yeah, Marsh Flats is iconic. Kratos is in Fortnite now? Oh, yeah. Tattooing is not easy. I tried just to tattoo a straight line on a guy who had a leg that was he had one whole leg devoted to non-tattoo artists trying to tattoo. It's a great joke, but quite an expense. And all I had to do was tattoo a straight line, and I couldn't do it. I thought I could, no problem. I just jammed the needle into him. It was bad. It was a shit show. Okay. All right, so let's get focused here. One thing is I have a really high contrast little pop-up here that is not working, so I got to kill that just a touch. It's a little too bright for that area. That was drawing the eye away. I need it to overlap, but I don't need it to draw your eye because there's a dark spot right next to it. Okay, so let's get back to our goblin. And I remember we had some notes. That's right, there we go. So there's going to be some pretty significant goblin changes here. Enough that we can probably turn that off for now. This happens sometimes, just major drawing changes. You tried to do a diamond. Do I have a Discord? id52? I do. The Discord link is below in the About section, right here on Twitch. Come on in and join up. There's a lot of art talking. I'd say it's mostly art talk there, but games, movies, all sorts. So I need to get underneath. This is going to be under instead of over. shadow from the head. This can be sloppy because we're just going to go in and clean it up with the painting, but this is more like almost just line drawing and figuring out the new locations of landmarks on the body. I'm going to have to change the silhouette there. Clean that up a little bit. Now we have to definitely change this face. And this is all just to support our new perspective. Now turn back on my perspective lines. Turn off the lines again. Copy, merge, paste. When you're doing these, like every now and then you're going to end up stuck doing a major perspective shift. You just got to grin and bear it, you know? It's very frustrating. But if it's going to make your image look better in the long run, it's going to be worth it. So just do it. As frustrating as it can be. What I try to do is keep as much material as I can to minimize having to repaint everything. So that's why you see me doing these copy, merge, paste operations. And that's just to minimize having to make new stuff. I've already painted it, right? So like, why would I need to go in and do it all over again? That's just ego. I mean, it's a very short hop in that philosophy to get into just straight kit bashing, and to be fair, that's an argument I lost a long time ago. So, you know, kit bash away if you must. If that's your way of doing things, go for it. It works. There's a reason that it's industry standard now. But it is funny. There was a time not that long ago where you would just be shredded online for kit bashing, photo bashing, things like that. Just different times, man. So my goal here at this point is just to get us underneath the jaw, so we're looking at it from below. And even though I'm pretty far in the painting in terms of the background, I'm still actually just designing this character as we go. So there's big changes happening to him. You love photo bashing? Yeah, I think photo bashing is a great technique for developing an idea or generating visual noise within an idea. It's the sloppiness of it in the aftermath that I have issues with at this stage. Like I've gotten over my dislike of it, so I do it too when necessary, but I do try to hide it as much as much as possible once I get to that point. Who knew? I was not planning to give this thing some luscious lips, but here we are. This is our world now. Just breathe. Just accept it. This is who we've become. It's a very different goblin than I normally paint, so I'll give myself that. Does the crown still fit? Yeah. Getting a little Vogue on here. I'm kind of thinking of, oops, sorry, I hit the mic, guys. I'm kind of thinking of a fish right now as I'm working on this anatomy. I'm thinking of one, I think it's called a triggerfish, which is a very weird looking little bug. And it's, when I've dealt with them in the past, I remember I did some diving pretty regularly when I was on a boat in the Caribbean. And we would go with a hookah line. A hookah line is like a generator up on the surface, and then the generator pumps fresh air down all these long tubes, and then the tubes go to a regulator in your mouth so that you can breathe underwater. And you can be down there for quite a while, and we would go lobstering. And I remember when we were down there, in order to make it easier so you weren't fighting the lobsters sometimes, once you'd caught one, you would just pull it apart and then stick it into your little net bag. And these fish would come up and try and steal like crab legs and lobster legs and things like that. And they were very like, they're not afraid of people at all. And I think those were triggerfish, and they had these really goofy little mouths. And they're fast. We're being a little bit generous with these teeth. Give him nice choppers. We gotta dirty those things up a little bit. Give him some plaque. And gingivitis. Decompression sickness scares you? Yeah, that's fair enough. But you don't need to worry about it as much when you're hookah diving. You can be down there for quite a while to decompress. I love diving. I love being in the water like that. It's so great. And the hookah was surprisingly freeing. I remember we also hunted lionfish because lionfish are an invasive species in the Caribbean. And that was very interesting. Using a spear gun, I hadn't used that before. Why not? That was great. And there's nothing like kind of like fresh lobster that you've picked up. My biggest concern trying to catch lobster was always eels, moray eels. I think my rather, how should I put it, expansive knowledge of marine biology garnered from a youth obsessed with it has actually worked against me living on a boat and being in the water all the time because I know what's in there and I know how easy it can hide. So that was always something of concern. Like I was terrified of frogfish and rockfish stepping on one or bumping into one. Like just the pain. Ain't nobody want to go out like that. Cone snails. Definitely took some jellyfish hits a couple times. Not fun. Nope. So what am I going to be doing with this here? This hunchback. Am I going to bring the arm up into it? I like making big, bold decisions with a big, bold brush. It's the only way to fly. All right, let's get back to a more forgiving one for a little bit. By changing this positioning that I have to change my cast shadow. The back of his neck looks like an ass. I see that. We can accentuate that. Have you ever drawn a subliminal phallic item? I don't do it subliminally at all. You will find in just about all of my work some elements of phallic and sapphic symbolism. It's guaranteed. Sometimes I do it just for the giggles. I did one promo piece actually. I remember that a lot of fans were calling the dick monster. And they were not wrong. Why does his back have cleavage? I don't know. I don't know. That's right. That's his plumber's crack. It goes all the way up. He's got ass for days. I like this brush because I can be really scribbly with it, and it's such a forgiving brush. You'll still get a hard edge, and you can imply your soft edges, and then it blends nice. It's just easy. It's easy mode. I think that's a fair guess, Funder. We'll definitely have to get back to those teeth, but I got super focused on his butt back. I mean, when the butt back calls, you must answer. Kind of like thinking of rhino armor, you know, how the skin creates these dense folds and things like that. So that's kind of the inspiration I'm considering here. I'm purposefully breaking an anatomical element with the pectoral muscle because I want the skin to be the dominant feature there. So we'll see how it plays out. Could be a terrible gamble, but at least we're making a choice. So you see what I've been talking about in the past episodes about saving the figure for last, like how quickly it can go. So if you start with this and you just finish and get the figure all figured out, pun intended, and then you get to the background, you're like, it's kind of what it turns to every time for me. So I know that about myself. So I go out of my way to prevent that kind of result. Can I explain why I mirror several times rapidly? Basically, it gives me fresh eyes. If you paint something, you may have seen the meme going around, right? Where like the artist will have painted, they've drawn the eyes like this, right? And then they've got the eyes there, and then you flip it and the eyes are totally busted. That's basically why, but for everything. So I'm just constantly double checking to make sure that my lighting is working, to make sure that the shapes are working, because it's one of the easiest checks for yourself. Because when you're doing a lot of illustration and things like this, you don't really have someone to bounce these things off of. You have to see it on your own with fresh eyes, and it's the easiest way to do that. We have it a lot easier than digital artists have a lot easier than traditional artists from the olden times. You used to have to carry around a big mirror to get the same effect, and they would look at the image in the mirror to double check. I don't like anything I just did there. That's horrible. Also, all of these warms don't work because none of this should really be in the light here. Maybe just that bit. So let's bring all this back and just light it with the cool fill. The sky fill. I guess this is a goblin with elephantitis or something. His skin is rough and loose, itchy and uncomfortable. Maybe his use of this magic, this evil magic he's found, is twisting his body. I mean, the first version of this, he kind of just came out looking like Creature to me, and that's kind of why I wanted to redo it. It's just to give it a different narrative so it didn't feel so borrowed. Even though that wasn't my intent, it just ended up looking that way to me. Is it hard when I don't do the title card? What do you mean the title card? Do you mean the original? Sorry, I don't know all the vernacular for Magic, unfortunately. Do you mean the original character, the first rendition of it? Is it hard not doing the first rendition? Yeah, matching characters is always tough. I much prefer creating original characters, but it also means that there's more work. Because sort of like we're doing with our goblin here, when you're doing your illustration, you have to do the design at the same time. And that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask. And it takes a great deal of effort. Oh shit, Photoshop just froze. Better save. There's trade-offs. I personally prefer the difficulty of creating a new character from scratch, but it is what it is. And then I've also, like I showed you, those goblins from the Goblin Diplomats. Those goblins I've featured in numerous cards, and I invented them, but I'm still trying to stay on model, so I'm creating the problem for myself. I could be doing original goblins every time, but I keep choosing to kind of imply this narrative, which I think has gone pretty well for them. I think they have an interesting story if one chooses to piece it together. Are we on time? Almost 2 hours, okay. I need to start working on another layer so I can start erasing and blending as I see fit. Kind of planning out my accent values here. You got to run, Avid? Hey, thanks for hanging out for a bit. It was fun chatting. Take it easy. We'll see you on Saturday, maybe. Let's do a backup real quick. First save. I'm going to grab this whole figure, group it, duplicate it. Then I'm going to merge down everything. Okay, so that's now just one layer. Oops. I don't know. Why is this happening? Why have I done this to myself? It's the little things, gang. I think you're going to find the most interesting images in when they're kind of laden with visual contrasts, not just colors and values, but also contextual contrasts. And I think something that's ugly but is lovingly rendered is one of the best kinds of contrasts. So you'll see that a lot in my work. I love beautiful, ugly things. And cute, monstrous things. I'm gonna kind of try to hint. I don't want it to seem friendly, but kind of a sneer smile, I think would be kind of great. Roof Nooge, thanks so much for that follow. I know I butchered your name. Please forgive me. Doing some fun ambient occlusion. Or not ambient occlusion, I'm sorry, subsurface scattering. I've created an accidental tangency with the rib cage and that neck cast shadow, so I gotta find a way to break that a little bit here. That might be the way to do it. Yes. All of this. Calendar, hi, how's it going? Can't complain, sitting here painting some ridiculous shit after a nice long work day. Chimp goblins. I think that should definitely be. I'm sure somebody's done that before. Actually, now that I think about it, with magic or some fantasy. Goblins built on chimp anatomy. Chimps are fucking terrifying though. I'm so scared of chimps. Tekka Ninja, thank you so much for that follow. Notice that I'm slowing down. I'm spending much more time here in the face because this is going to be my focal point. This is where I want the most detail. I want the most interesting colors and shapes, the greatest contrasts in the smallest amount of space. Okay, I gotta be careful. I'm kind of making it friendly and cute again, and I think something to do with the nose and the eyes that I just made. I need it to feel animalistic and threatening, not pleasant. Because according to our assignment, god damn it. According to our assignment, he has to be a real grumpy sumbitch. Maybe his jaunty hat is too jaunty. Oh, it could be the eyelids I added. Eyelids are kind of making the face feel a little bit more approachable. This can be one of those things that's really hard with goblins, and it's something I've faced before. Trying to get facial expressions to read when the anatomy is so not humanistic, you know? It can be very tough. It's a challenge. But there are some universals to menace. Squarish shaped eyes, squinting. Now that said, chimpanzees totally break a lot of those rules of expression, and expressions that we consider cute or friendly and humane are actually threat displays for chimpanzees. They have to actually learn to smile like we do. This is kind of a chimpanzee smile, actually. It just doesn't come naturally for them to do to reveal the top teeth. Revealing the top teeth for them is like it's a threat. Maybe give them a dick nose to go with the ass back. No. Maybe a little cooter nose. Even though the nose is really tiny, I'm trying to give it the detail of a sneer, like these bands of skin and flaring nostril, things like that, to give it more menace and threat. I'm trying to achieve that with a really minimum amount of line and detail. But I think it's working. I don't think he looks so cute anymore. Indeed, the coochie nose. This is a great indicator of displeasure. The pinched, what is this? The frontalis. This right here is a major contributor to what we call resting bitch face. So if you're one of those people that sits and is thoughtful and has that deep crease all the time, it might look like you're angry. So pissed. Did you have problems with your neighbor, Ola? Were you blasting music super late though? See how that softened it? Does changing where his pupils or whites for him are looking change his mood? Absolutely. There's so much communication that happens in the eyes in terms of non-verbal communication. To master it in your paintings is a huge feat, but worth studying because you can imply so much on the subconscious level that your viewer doesn't even recognize. I mean, it can go from how much whites are being shown in the eyes to like where the eye is looking so it changes the overall shape of the eyelid. There's so much subtlety that goes into it. This character is meant to feel very simplistic, very animalistic and kind of wretched. So we're not going for really complex emotion. That's part of why I'm not even doing whites in the eyes with this one. Is it's meant to feel just like base threat. This thing is not clever. It's not a smart strategian. This thing is just kind of reactionary rage, which I think is fitting for the time. I don't know if I like any of that stuff. In fact, I'm not sure I like any of this. Yeah, it's better without it. You gotta go. Take care. Glad you could join us. We're gonna be shutting down in a few minutes anyway. But glad you could join us and come join us on Saturday for the next show. Please. Great to have you. Him looking up makes him look stupider. Like this. Actually, kind of find that funny. I think the beady eyes will stay for now, though. probably too soon for that kind of detail. Let's refine our stick just a touch before we head out. I don't think the glow came through at all. We're going to have to refine the edges and everything because it's very chunky after I've transformed it so much. I just want to get rid of as many sort of soft edges as possible. I want to have total control over the edges. Am I going to leave the hair like that? I don't know. We'll see. We're not even close to really rendering out the hair just yet. We're still figuring out like major decisions on the face. What's the music I'm listening to? It's all music from Kevin MacLeod on Incompetech. It's all royalty-free stuff. I'm actually not listening to that. I am listening to Spotify right now. But I have that playlist up there for you guys. I had it off for a while, but people were freaked out by how quiet everything was. So music's back on, albeit quietly. I did experiment a little bit with some with some royalty-free music and played that like on a Spotify list, but then it ended up getting red flagged on YouTube. So it is not like I have some videos that can't be shown in other countries now because they have that music and it's so layered in. No. It'd be cool though. I don't know. Maybe we'll think about it. Where is the Incompetech music? It's incompetech.io, I believe, and go to the royalty-free section. Kova, enough. Yeah, he definitely looks menacing now. Did I have any pets when I was on the boat? Yeah, Kova was on the boat with me. Little shit. She regularly put herself in life-threatening situations on that thing. There's this kind of rope that is extremely strong. It's made with similar fibers to what they use for Kevlar. And so this rope, it's called Dyneema. Dyneema at the thicker levels is stronger and can hold more weight than its equivalent diameter in as steel cable steel. So when you look at like braided steel on bridges and stuff like that, there's actually rope out there that's stronger than that. So I had this thin rope for the halyards, and it was this stuff. Like, in order to cut it, you can't cut it with scissors. You have to cut it with a grinder. But it's rope. It's incredible stuff. Anyway, Kova, of course, found a loop of this stuff, and she swallowed like 9 feet of Dyneema. It was thin, you know. I think it was, what was it, like, it wasn't 3/4, but it was the next size down. So I guess 1/2 inch. No, it had to have been smaller than that. 3/8 inch. I don't know. Anyway, it was like that big. She swallowed several feet of it, and because you can't just cut it off, like you would have to, you'd have to grind it, and then hopefully she would pass it. But I mean, that's a pound of rope or something like that. So we had to pull it out the front end. We found her. She was sitting on the deck and just trying to chew through the rope. She had a bunch in her gut, and she was just sitting there like trying to chew on it. It was all frothy. It was all frothy everywhere, and yeah, poor dumbass dog. It was disgusting. It was really disgusting. The rope was never the same. She certainly didn't cut through it, but it was ruined on the last 9 feet. It was disgusting to handle. It is not the only interaction Kova had with rope. She swallowed way more than 9 feet of paracord, but that actually she was able to chew through, so she passed it. It was disgusting. And she vomited it too. It was like I actually thought that she had worms when it came out. It's like, it's exactly as bad as you're imagining right now. Very icky. Okay, let's figure out. Well, we don't need to figure out very much else. We've been rendering like crazy on one part, which kind of lays out the notes for the rest of it. I think that we could probably finish it in the next session. So it's about 8 hours in, I think. Maybe a little less. I don't know. Yeah, it's working out all right. I like the fairy tale look to it, which is very different than the other one. The other one felt sort of like almost cyberpunky in a way. Must have been horrifying. Yeah, it was awful. Kova, I would say annually, Kova does something that is borderline suicidal. She has almost killed herself so many times. The year before the rope incident, she managed somehow, somebody took her for a walk. I think she was being dog sit by a friend while I was out of town. And when I got back into town, she started puking. I took her to the vet, and the vet said nothing was wrong with her. And I know my dog. My dog is insanely tough. She's one of those animals that like has such a high pain tolerance that she's literally stood in fire before, barking and trying to bite the fire, and just stood there in it. Kova, stop! I'm telling stories about how dumb you are. So, I mean, at a barbecue, she's standing in a little bonfire, trying to chew on fire. That's my dog. She's just a magical creature. So anyway, this time I came back home after being away. She had swallowed something. I didn't know what it was, but something was wrong with her, and she was puking like black bile. She was like shaking. She was really sick. But she has an insane pain tolerance. So for her to react to it, it has to be like an 11 on the pain scale. Like it's over what's standard. And even then, she was still eating or trying to eat, and she would still play. So I took her to the vet, and the vet was like, she's playing, she's fine. I was like, no, you don't understand. And then the dog came over. Well, she likes to, and in Mexico, we had easy access to coconuts. So that was her favorite toy, thankfully, because it was so cheap. But she loved to, and when I say coconuts, I mean the whole fucking coconut, like with the husk on. She liked to peel the husk off. This is how strong she is. She would take the husk off and then crush into the coconut and to get at the meat. And then she would just eat the meat and the wood at the same time. It didn't matter to her. So I had the vet come to pick her up, and we were sitting there, and Kova had gotten her paws on a coconut. She was running around and playing with the coconut, and the vet's like, she seems fine. And I was like, no, something is wrong with the dog. I know the dog. Please trust me. Something's very wrong with her. And she's like, oh no, she's good. She's good. So Kova comes over wagging with her big coconut in her mouth. She drops the coconut, looks up at the vet, and just vomits like 3 pints of just pure black liquid all over her shoes. Like just like explosive, emitting a demon coming out of her face. Just disgusting. Oh, it's so horrible. And the vet was like, oh, okay. So she took her in and they did an x-ray like right then. And it turned out that Kova had swallowed an entire mango pit. So my dog's like 40 pounds. Her esophagus is only like that big. It's not even an inch. Somehow she swallowed a mango pit, which is like this big, got it through her throat, down into her stomach, and her body, out of just willful hate and wanting to waste my money, managed to push it through the stomach, and it got lodged in the duodenum, which is the back end of the stomach. And it had been cutting off the blood supply to her intestine because it had stretched it out so much that it pinched off the blood. So about a foot of her intestine was necrotized, and they had to go in and cut it out and then sew the intestine back together. That was the year before she swallowed 9 feet of rope. Good goddamn times with that dog. And I can't put her in a one of those cones because she eats cones. She's eaten 3 of those things. Yeah, this is my life. Never getting a dog again. But the stories, so many good stories. Anyway, on that, we shall part, gang. She is definitely, absolutely a danger to herself, and she is possibly one of the dumbest dogs I've ever met. But she's really cute, and she's sweet. I think she means well, but she is a challenge. Truly a challenge. Remind me sometime in the future to tell the story about how she broke her teeth. That's kind of a funny one, too. If I'm ever on fire, she'll come and rescue me? No. If I'm ever on fire, she'll just stop and bark at the fire. She's blind right now. Well, almost blind, because she spent half the time that she lived on the boat staring at the sun, getting mad at the sun because it hurt, and starting to bark at the sun. I caught her doing it numerous times. I had to yell at my dog to stop staring at the sun, like she's the president of the United States or something. Oh my God. Anyway, gang, it's been fun. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you on Saturday. So I have Mondays and Wednesdays at 3 p.m. as our weekday shows, and then Saturday at noon usually. So stop in anytime. That schedule will be changing soon. I have recently gotten some pretty important news that will affect the show. We'll relay as soon as I'm able to. But for now, just stick to it. We're going to hold on to the same schedule, and everything will be good time funds. We'll probably finish this painting next time, and maybe we'll have time to start a new one. Until then, paint smart, paint sexy. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me, and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not. You're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work.
Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster.